what do you think are the three most important things to think about when you turn from campus teaching into digital distance teaching?
I think the first most important thing is about the content. The teaching materials that needs to be sort of taught in a normal campus course is being always facilitated and amended by the teacher based on the students' response and how things are happening in the class and so on. But when you are going online, mostly students look at the material before most of the times. And even though you are having online synchronized sessions with the students, still all the students might not have equal chance of participation in asking questions or clarifying things. So let the teacher understand how students feel about the discussions and so on. So it is a little bit important that there is a little bit more support in a synchronized manner given to the students, some sort of a guided structure, some kind of hints that how you should read it and what is important parts to sort of like bring out from the discussion and things like that. So have to start thinking of the material from the beginning itself, to change it a little bit to make the students feel like they can follow it properly, rather than just putting it as a book or a teaching material, a PDF document or something like that. So good to have some kind of multimodal mixture into that as well, because sometimes students, they might get bored in reading it, not like having an interaction session as such. And also even in the synchronized status could be a little bit different. So I would say material is quite important.
Okay, thank you. Could you then say something about how you can think when you want to engage students in some kind of activity during a digital course?
Yes, actually, having a collaborative space available for the students to discuss things is the first thing to be done. And then not only having the space is enough, because we have to attract the students and also bring in the students to this collaborative space to make a meaningful discussion and learning from kind of a personalized learning settings, and let the students to be comfortable as well in these collaborative spaces is quite important. As a teacher, perhaps you can start thinking of what kind of interesting parts in the course that we should put into this kind of students' engagement and learning from each other and that for that kind of settings, and creating a very good question that is interested for everybody, and also everybody feel that they can contribute to in this collaborative space is something very important, I guess.
Can I just ask, can you do this in Athena?
I think, yeah, we can do it in Athena. There is a functionality to create groups in Athena, so that the students can be automatically, or maybe also a little bit of manual intervention as well, to put into several groups. And when these groups are created, all the students in that particular group can sort of get together in that group space and start discussing things. So the teacher can sort of give some sort of thoughts to which kind of things that they can do in that group space, and also with a clear goal. Also, it needs to have always been connected to a learning goal. That is when the student actually can understand and follow what they have to do. And also making that structure is I would say, the biggest challenge for a teacher to also carefully think about. But when that is created and when the goals are visible, when the students know that how they should act in these group spaces and what kind of rules that they have to follow in participating in these group discussions and how they participate in it, and those kind of things, I think teacher has to think beforehand. So once those instructions are there and the students are aware about what is their goal and what kind of outcomes that they should get out of these group collaborations, it is very easy for a student to go into this collaborative space and carry on their works.
Okay, thank you. Thashmee, do you have any tips or suggestions for how we can best engage students and make them motivated, even if they don't actually meet their teacher face to face?
Yes, actually, it is very important for to follow up the students' activities in an online course, more important than having it in a face-to-face course. So there are a few tips actually that I can give in relation to how to motivate students. For example, teachers can sort of keep continuous communication with them, posting some sort of messages that how they are doing, or if they have any questions or things like that, although they don't sort of explicitly ask questions from the teachers. Teachers can initiate some discussions to make sure that if students are reading certain materials or gaining certain knowledge, or in which ways that they are progressing in their studies and stuff like that. Also, it is good that quite frequent messages sort of mentioning that, okay, this week, end of the week, you have this assignment, and end of next week, you have this assignment, like that, to reminding the activities to be done and what kind of sort of assignments they have to complete and what is your workload should be in this week and stuff like that. So constant messaging would help the students so that they might sometimes, some of the students, if they are not aware about something, so have some questions, they most of the times they question back how it is and where it is and things like that. So it would be something quite helpful for the rest of the students also, because a lot of students, they are just not they don't motivate themselves that much to ask questions, but they read forums, they read blogs, they read the discussion sessions and stuff like that. So the more information in there, the better it is for motivating students, because then they feel that there is something happening in the course, even though they don't see each other and they don't talk with each other so often and so on. So if the discussion forums are quiet, it is teachers can sort of stimulate it a little bit by constant reminding about the things that they have to do and so on.
Okay, great. And can I also ask you about what if there are some specific resources that you would suggest? I mean, there are some research sources at Stockholm University, but there are perhaps also resources that are free, that kind of freeware that we can use in an online course that you would recommend.
Nothing is coming to my mind as such as specific resources now, but I think there are a lot of open educational resources that is in quite a lot of learning platforms that has quite tips. Like even Athena, its learning platform has some tips on what kind of things need to be thought about when you create a course in online setting and so on, and how to create course modules, materials, how you organize your learning goals, how you include learning goals coupled with the material that you have, and that kind of things that makes teachers, that could be helpful for teachers in creating their courses in a platform online.
Thashmee, can I ask you a last question now, which is, do you see that, are there any specific risks or pitfalls that teachers do when they turn into digital education?
Actually, one of the biggest risks could be having not enough materials being sort of structured in order to have it in a digital format, in a digital course format, because there could be some sort of, there has to have a sort of a balance between the material that we are using for normal classroom teaching and resources that you can find in PDF formats and so on. So when we are presenting courses in digital format, it should not be as straightforward or abstract as a PDF, as a PowerPoint slide, nor should it be a PDF. So it should be a little bit in between, so that you can bring in some information from these resources in order to make sure that you are giving the important points to the student in the material. But then additional resources can be sort of linked from that. So the resources has to be developed in such a way that it has several stages, going from a little bit of an abstract level to a very detailed level. So the advantage of putting courses online is that we can refer to a lot of interesting different materials that is available from online. But then the risk is that one should not be sort of overload the student with information as well. So that is kind of a risk, like when you're going from normal courses to online, that since you have this opportunity to bring in a lot of resources, it might sort of overload the student. So that is one of the biggest risks I see in creating online courses and offering courses online.
Great.